was dark except for the faint glow from Jessica's phone screen. I lay still, breathing deeply and evenly, maintaining the illusion of sleep I perfected over the past few months. It started as insomnia, stress from the startup keeping me awake, but somewhere along the way, I discovered that my wife became remarkably honest when she thought I was unconscious. "I know, Megan, I know," Jessica whispered into her phone, her voice carrying clearly in the quiet room. Just a little longer. I kept my breathing steady, resisting the urge to turn over. Through barely opened eyes, I could see her silhouette against the window, pacing in her silk pajamas, the ones I'd bought her for our 5th anniversary last year. "His startup is failing," she continued, and I felt my chest tighten. "The investors pulled out last month. He's been pretending everything's fine, but I saw the emails. He's got maybe 4 weeks of runway left, tops." My mind raced. She'd been going through my emails. The investor situation was complicated, yes, but far from what she was describing. I'd been careful to keep the real status of NeuroSync under wraps, even from her. Apparently, not careful enough. "I'll divorce him next month," Jessica said, her tone as casual as if she were discussing dinner plans. "After the company officially folds. My lawyer says I can take half of everything, the house, the savings, even any intellectual property from the startup since we're in a community property state." I bit the inside of my cheek to keep from reacting. 5 years of marriage reduced to a calculated timeline based on my perceived failure. "Of course I'm staying until then," she laughed softly, a sound that used to make me smile. "If I leave now, I get nothing. But if I wait until after the bankruptcy, I'm entitled to half the debt too. Better to let him sink the ship completely, than take what's salvageable." She paused, listening to her sister's response. "No, he has no idea. Nathan's too wrapped up in his failing company to notice anything. Yesterday he was excited about some breakthrough with the algorithm. As if that matters when you can't pay your engineers. The algorithm breakthrough, the one I'd worked 70 hours straight to achieve, the one that had caught the attention off. "I've already been apartment hunting," Jessica continued. "Found a cute place in Marina del Rey. Ocean view, gym in the building. Derek from my yoga class knows the landlord." Derek, I'd met him once at a studio event. Tall trust fund type who'd inherited his father's real estate portfolio. He'd spent the entire evening staring at my wife while I made awkward small talk about market volatility. "No, Derek's just a friend helping out," Jessica said, but her giggle suggested otherwise. "Though he did say he's impressed by how I'm handling such a difficult situation. He actually asked if I wanted to get drinks next week to discuss investment opportunities." I remained perfectly still, years of all-nighters training me to control my body despite the adrenaline coursing through my veins. Let her talk. Let her reveal everything. "The prenup?" She scoffed. "Nathan was so in love he barely read it. My lawyer found at least 3 loopholes. Besides, California law is very generous to spouses who supported their partner's business ventures. And I've been so supportive, haven't I? Going to all those boring tech events, pretending to care about neural networks and machine learning. Those boring tech events where she'd networked relentlessly, charming investors and partners. I thought she was being a supportive spouse. Turns out she was building her exit strategy. 6 months from now, I'll be single, debt-free, and sitting on enough money to start fresh. Maybe I'll finally take that trip to Bali. Derek mentioned he has a house there. Of course he did. "I should go," Jessica whispered. "Nathan sometimes wakes up around 3 to check his emails. Can't have him catching me planning his demise." She laughed again. "Love you too, sis. Talk tomorrow." I heard her set the phone down and felt the mattress shift as she slid back into bed. Within minutes, her breathing had evened out into sleep. Meanwhile, I lay awake, processing what I'd heard. The irony was almost funny. 3 hours ago, I'd received the call I'd been waiting 18 months for. Tomorrow morning, the tech world would wake up to the news that NeuroSync had been acquired by Prometheus Technologies for $50 million. The contracts were signed, the press release drafted, the funds ready to wire. But Jessica didn't know that, because I'd been planning too. I carefully reached for my phone from the nightstand, making sure to keep my movements slow and natural. Opening my messages, I typed a single text to my lawyer, Richard Stern. "Execute Plan B file at 8 a.m. sharp." His response came quickly, despite the late hour. "Understood. Everything is prepared." I'd hired Richard 6 months ago when I first started noticing discrepancies. Small things at first. Jessica's sudden interest in our financial accounts, her probing questions about company valuations, the way she casually mentioned that her friend's divorce had been surprisingly lucrative. Then I discovered she'd been photographing my documents, had hired a forensic accountant to analyze our assets, and had met with a divorce attorney 4 times in the past 2 months. So I prepared. Quietly, carefully, the same way I built NeuroSync from a garage startup to an AI powerhouse. The next morning came too quickly. Jessica was already in the kitchen when I came downstairs, dressed in her tennis outfit and scrolling through her phone. She glanced up with a practiced smile. "Morning, honey. How'd you sleep?" "Like the dead," I replied, pouring myself coffee. "Big day today." She barely looked up. "Another investor meeting." Something like that. My phone buzzed. A text from Maya Patel, Prometheus's CEO. "Embargo lifts in 30 minutes. Congratulations again, Nathan. You've built something special." 28 minutes. "I might be late tonight," Jessica said, gathering her gym bag. "Megan wants to go shopping after my tennis lesson." "No problem. I'll probably be at the office late anyway." She paused at the door, and for a moment I saw something flicker across her face. Guilt? Regret? But then it was gone, replaced by that perfect smile. "Don't work too hard, honey. You know what they say about flogging a dead horse." And then she was gone. 20 minutes. I sat at our kitchen table, the one we bought together at a flea market when we could barely afford groceries, and waited. My phone lit up with messages from my team, all of them sworn to secrecy until the announcement. "Can't believe we pulled it off." James, my CTO. "Drinks are on you for life." Sarah, lead engineer. "Thank you for believing in us." Kumar, my co-founder. 10 minutes. I pulled up the divorce papers Richard had prepared. Clean, simple, based on the actual terms of our prenup. The one Jessica thought she'd found loopholes in. What she didn't know was that I'd had those loopholes reviewed by 3 different lawyers. They were airtight. 5 minutes. My phone rang. Richard. "Papers have been filed," he said. "Process server will meet her at the tennis club in approximately 1 hour. Also, I've executed the asset protection strategies we discussed. The acquisition funds will be properly sheltered. And the intellectual property, ironclad. NeuroSync's patents and algorithms were developed before marriage and improved with documented non-marital funds. She has no claim." 2 minutes. I switched to Twitter, watching the tech journalists I knew were about to break the story. My heart was pounding, but not from anxiety, from anticipation. 1 minute. Jessica's phone would start blowing up soon. Her sister Megan would probably see it first. She was addicted to tech gossip. Then the friends who knew she was married to that startup guy. Then Derek, who would suddenly realize the woman he was circling was about to become very, very single and very, very not rich. 0. The news broke like a dam bursting. Breaking. AI startup NeuroSync acquired by Prometheus Technologies for $50 million. Stealth mode success. How NeuroSync quietly became the hottest AI company in Silicon Valley. From garage to glory, Nathan Chen's NeuroSync acquisition stuns tech world. My phone exploded with notifications. Congratulations, interview requests, messages from old friends and distant relatives. I ignored them all, waiting for the one call I knew would come. It took exactly 12 minutes. "Nathan." Jessica's voice was shrill, panicked. "What is this? What's happening?" My phone is going crazy. "Of the acquisition," I said calmly. "Yeah, we finalized it yesterday. Didn't I mention it?" $50 million? Nathan, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm coming home right now. We need to celebrate. I'll cancel with Megan and... Actually, I interrupted. You might want to stay at the club. Richard Stern will be serving you divorce papers in about 40 minutes. Silence. Complete, beautiful silence. "What?" Her voice was small, confused. "I'm filing for divorce, Jessica. Irreconcilable differences. Though I could probably add fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, and conspiracy if you prefer." "Nathan, I don't understand. We're happy. Where?" "Planning to divorce me next month after my startup fails?" I suggested, taking half of everything. Already apartment hunting in Marina del Rey. Ring any bells? The silence stretched longer this time. How did you? No. The same way I built a $50 million company, by paying attention to details, by being smarter than people assumed, by planning ahead. Nathan, please let me explain. It's not what you think. Megan was going through a rough patch and I was just playing along with her fantasy. I would never. Stop. My voice was firm but calm. I have recordings, Jessica. Legal ones from our security system. I have screenshots of your texts to Derek. I have receipts from your meetings with divorce lawyers. I have evidence of you photographing confidential company documents. Those recordings can't be legal. Single-party consent state, and they were taken in common areas of my house. Very legal. Very admissible. Her breathing was ragged now. The prenup. My lawyer said. Your lawyer was wrong. The prenup is solid. You get what you brought into the marriage, which, if I recall correctly, was about $3,000 and a 2012 Honda Civic. You're entitled to no alimony, no equity in the company, and no community property beyond items purchased jointly during the marriage. This is insane. I supported you. I stood by you through everything. Did you? Or were you building an exit strategy the moment things looked difficult? Tell me, Jessica, when exactly did you stop loving me? Was it when the series of funding fell through? When I mortgaged the house to keep the company afloat? Or was it earlier than that? She was crying now. Real tears or performed ones? I couldn't tell anymore. Didn't care. I want you out of the house by tonight, I continued. You can take your clothes, your jewelry, and yes, the Honda. Richard will send you a complete list of what you're entitled to. It's more than you deserve but less than you plan to steal. Nathan, please, we can work this out. Couples therapy. Anything. That money, we could start fresh. Travel the world. Buy a bigger house. Have the life we always dreamed of. The life you dreamed of, I corrected. My dreams were never about money. They were about building something meaningful. About having a partner who believed in me even when things were impossible. About love that wasn't conditional on my net worth. I do love you. No, Jessica, you love the idea of me, the successful tech entrepreneur, the potential millionaire. But when you thought I was failing, you were already in bed with someone else, at least emotionally, if not physically. Derek is just a friend. Derek is your backup plan. Well, congratulations. He's been promoted to primary. Though I doubt he'll be as interested now that you're not getting half of $50 million. More silence. I could picture her standing at the tennis club, probably in the parking lot, her perfect world crumbling around her designer shoes. You're making a mistake, she finally said, her voice hard now. I'll fight this. I'll take you for everything. With what money? Your lawyer required a $20,000 retainer, which you paid from our joint account. That account is now frozen pending the divorce proceedings. Your credit cards, all in my name, have been canceled. Your car is in my name too, actually, but I'm feeling generous. Consider it a parting gift. You can't do this. It's already done. Oh, and Jessica, that apartment in Marina Del Rey? The landlord is a NeuralSync investor. He was very interested to hear about your plans. Something about not wanting tenants of questionable character. The call ended. She didn't say goodbye. Neither did I. I sat in my kitchen, in the house I'd almost lost 6 months ago, while scrambling to keep my company alive. The same house Jessica had secretly photographed for her divorce lawyer, measuring square footage and documenting assets. My phone continued buzzing. Kumar texted, "Celebration dinner tonight?" Teams asking. I typed back, "Absolutely, but first, I need to do something." An hour later, I stood in the garage where NeuralSync was born. The whiteboards were still there, covered in equations and diagrams that had become the foundation of our technology. The folding table I'd use as my first desk. The sleeping bag in the corner from nights when I couldn't afford to waste time driving home. This was what Jessica never understood. It was never about the money. It was about the 12-hour days solving impossible problems. The thrill of breakthrough. The loyalty of a team that believed in something bigger than themselves. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Derek. I just wanted you to know I had no idea about any of this. I'm sorry, man. For what it's worth, you deserve better." I deleted it without responding. Another text, this one from Richard. "Papers served." She wasn't happy. Threw her green juice at the process server. He's adding assault charges. I couldn't help but laugh. The perfect tennis wife throwing organic smoothies in a country club parking lot. Sometimes reality was better than fiction. That evening, I met my team at our usual dive bar. The same place we drowned our sorrows after every failed funding round, celebrated every small victory, and dreamed about what success might look like. To Neurosync, Kumar raised his beer, and to Nathan, who never gave up, even when giving up would have been the smart move. We clinked glasses. Sarah leaned over. Heard about Jessica. You okay? Better than okay, I said, and meant it. For the first time in months, I feel like myself again. She was always too. James searched for the right word. Calculating? I suggested. I was going to say shiny, but yeah, that works too. We laughed, and I felt the weight of the last year lifting. The late nights wondering if Jessica's declining affection was my fault. The guilt over working too much, earning too little, risking too much. The constant feeling that I was failing as a husband while trying to succeed as an entrepreneur. You know what the best part is? I said, looking around at my team, my real family. She thought she was getting half of nothing. She had no idea what we built here, no understanding of what this technology could do. She saw numbers on a spreadsheet, not the revolution we're creating. Her loss, Maya said, appearing at our table with a bottle of champagne that cost more than my first car. Mind if I join the celebration? Pull up a chair, I grinned. But you're buying the next round. As the night went on, my phone lit up with messages. Former investors who'd passed on Neurosync wanting to congratulate me. Tech reporters angling for exclusive interviews. My parents who'd never quite understood what I did but were proud nonetheless. And buried in the flood of notifications, a final text from Jessica. I loved who you could have been. I stared at it for a moment, then typed back. I became who I was meant to be. You just weren't paying attention. Then I blocked her number and rejoined my team. Tomorrow would bring lawyers and paperwork and a complicated process of untangling 5 years of marriage. But tonight was for celebration. Not for the money, the financial security was nice. Not for the vindication, though proving doubters wrong had its satisfaction. But for the simple fact that I built something meaningful with people who believed in the vision, not the valuation. Jessica had been right about one thing. I was married to my startup. But unlike our marriage, that relationship was built on trust, mutual respect, and shared dreams. And worth every penny of $50 million. The epilogue came 6 months later. The divorce was finalized with Jessica getting exactly what the prenup specified. Derek, predictably, had disappeared from her life within weeks of realizing she wasn't getting a windfall. The last I heard, she was working as a receptionist at her lawyer's office, having burned through her savings on legal fees for a battle she couldn't win. I ran into Megan at a coffee shop near my new office. She looked uncomfortable, clutching her locket like a shield. Nathan, I'm sorry. About everything. I didn't know she was so calculating, I offered. She nodded. I thought she loved you, really loved you. Maybe she did, once, before the idea of money became more attractive than the reality of marriage. Megan shifted awkwardly. For what it's worth, she regrets it. Calls me crying almost every night. Regrets getting caught or regrets losing the money. Her silence was answer enough. As I left the coffee shop, I felt the vibration of my phone. A message from my new girlfriend. A pediatric surgeon who didn't care about tech valuations and thought my excitement over algorithm optimization was adorably nerdy. Dinner at 7, she texted. Fair warning. I might be late. Complicated surgery this afternoon. Take your time, I typed back. Saving lives is slightly more important than pasta. This is why I like you, you get it. I smiled, walking toward my Tesla, a small indulgence I'd allowed myself post-acquisition. Jessica would have wanted a Lamborghini, something flashy and attention-grabbing. But I'd learned the hard way that the best things in life, real love, true success, lasting happiness, didn't need to announce themselves. They just needed to be genuine. And that, as it turned out, was worth far more than $50 million.